Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about change. Okay, so what happens in life is that it's always changing. Life is always changing, it never stays the same. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you are having a hard time, it's okay because it's going to change. And if life is going so smoothly for you, it's also going to change. So life is always changing. Nothing ever stays the same. And so that's helped me a lot. I had an injury to my hip and I was in a lot of pain. And my pain, I thought was gonna kill me. It was like physical pain was just, it had so many things attached to it. It had emotions, it had thoughts, um, a lot of fear around not being able to do my job. How is this gonna affect, the way I could perform as a mom? How was I going to go to the grocery store? I mean, there was all these thoughts of fear. And, what I learned from that is that when I thought my pain was unbearable and I couldn't go on any longer, it would shift. And what I did is I tracked my pain and I would give it a number. And as time went on, I could clearly see that it didn't ever stay the same. When I was on a diet and losing weight, I would track how hungry I was. And what I was trying to do is get in touch with my feelings and thoughts around food, because sometimes we eat just to comfort ourselves, or sometimes we don't eat to punish ourselves, or we don't make time to eat because we're too busy, right? And so getting in touch with myself about when I was hungry was really important. And what I realized is that even that changed, whether I ate or not. So I would ask myself, I would think that I wanted something to eat. And I would ask myself on a scale from 1 to 5, how hungry are you? Um, so I ended up using this system to check in with myself, and it was amazing. I would ask myself, how hungry you are? Like, oh, it's like a 2, but I was gonna go eat. And so a 5 would be like, I'm starving. My stomach is like, I feel nauseous. My stomach is turning because it wants something to eat, right? It's growling. And so I wouldn't eat and I would be at work and it would be busy and it would go up to like a 4.5 or even a 5. And I wouldn't be able to eat in that moment. But I was recognizing, okay, I am so hungry. And then an hour and a half later, I would ask myself, how hungry are you? And it was like, well, I'm not even hungry anymore. It would go down to a 2 or a 1. So it's really interesting how not only our feelings change, our thoughts change, our hunger change, being tired changes, all things change. They're constantly moving. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is either you're moving towards something or away from something. You can't just like put an anchor down and think that you're going to stay there. It doesn't work like that. So things are always shifting because there's so many different things going on in life. There's so many things outside of our control that we have no control over. So change stirs up a lot in our brain because our brain wants to stay the same and it's trying to keep us the same. And that's the exact opposite of personal growth, because personal growth is about learning and growing and knowing and doing. And our brain wants us to stay the same. So it keeps us the same by interfering when we try to grow and learn. So the biggest thing that we can do is be aware and be ready for it. know that if you are wanting to change something in your life, resistance is going to show up. That means there's going to be stuff pushing against you, getting in your way. And your brain wants to know that you really want it. We might have talked about the reticular activating system, RAS. You can look it up, but that system is actually there to protect us. And the way we get past that barrier is by repetition, by consistency, by continuing to turn on all the senses in our brain, like visualization, affirmations, body language, using these different parts of our brain to kind of engage us, writing down something tells your brain it's important to you. And that will help it get past that wall dividing your conscious brain and your subconscious brain. We have to get things into our subconscious for us to get the kind of results we're looking for, because there's a block there. And it's to protect us so that we don't get too overwhelmed and we don't just make decisions and just go any which way, because there's so much stimulus going around us. That's our brain's way of helping us make decisions through repetition. So we all have already made a neural pathway in our brain to have a routine. We repeatedly think thoughts and it gets into our subconscious, and that becomes a pattern, and that creates the results we have currently in our life. So when we're ready to finally switch something and change, our brain's kind of freaking out a little bit or a lot, right? So what I want to talk to today is, how do I embrace change? How do I become aware of the resistance that's pushing against me? And how do I get through? Okay? So there's a story. There's a story in our head, and we're afraid. So I'm going to ask you a question. You need a pen and paper, as usual. I'm always going to give you things to do and things to think about and things to be aware of and be conscious of in our lives. Okay, so the first question is, what is the story I'm afraid is true? What is the story I'm afraid is true? So right now, you're looking at some goals. And anytime we have a goal, there is going to be resistance, and there's going to be a fight inside with our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, because our conscious mind is what we're thinking about right now. So when I say I have a goal, that's in my conscious mind, but then my subconscious is like, don't do that, don't do that. So I start moving towards my goal, and there's things in, there's an inner battle inside, and there's an outer battle. There's a battle of energy and vibration and people and places and things and experiences that are also pushing against me to keep me from my goal. So we often are like, I want this goal. Like, why am I pushing it away? Why am I think relationships, whether you're single or you're married, relationships are always going to be our biggest teacher, because people in our lives mirror who we are, and the people in our lives mirror our choices. And there's so many opportunities to learn from the people that are closest to us right now. So when I think of relationships and how I, if I want a better relationship with somebody, and I have a goal towards, getting to know that person better, being more vulnerable and intimate with that person. And I want to upgrade my relationship so that it's better, you know? And you can do that when you're single, and you can do that when you're married, right? And what ends up happening, like what keeps us in the cycle from being close with somebody? And so there's a lot of different things that might show up. So the first thing I was gonna show you is, let's say this is you, right? And this is our path. Now, there's a path. This is the past, right? So this is us right now, and this is our future. And then this is the goal, right? So what happens is this is our default back here. This is where we currently are because of the choices that we made and the way we look at life. So our default is to stay the same. So we're gonna what we've done in the past is gonna be what we get in the future, because that's our default. That's what we fall towards. That's where we're comfortable, and that's where our brain wants to keep us. So what happens is we might want to take a different route. So it's like, okay, and I can still get to so I'm just going to put like a wall here, because there's always something blocking us from the wall or from the goal. And we have to find different ways to get over here. But the default is going to take us either a really long time, or once we actually get to the wall, we'll never get through, because we just keep doing the same thing, getting the same result, and we can't get through the wall. So this represents the default, and there's these different paths, right, that we can take to get to the same place. So that's where we want to go, right? So what happens is I will take different routes. Some routes are going to lead me here, and some routes are going to be like, I'm just going to be like walking in circles. I'm just going to get stuck in a loop, right? So I call these, it's like a chicken exit, right? It's like, I don't really want to face what's going on, so I take a chicken exit. So like an old belief would be, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to make a mistake, right? Because we have fears that force us into even taking a chicken exit, right? Because our fear is so powerful that it is a distraction. And even though we want to get over here, the fear keeps us. So I have this thought in my mind, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to look stupid. It's not going to work out. This is how it always ends. This keeps happening to me. What's wrong with me? So we might push away our goal because of these chicken exits. So it's just important to take a look at, another great one is I don't know. I don't know. If you don't know, how is your brain going to know where you're going? It's also a great way your brain uses, it uses that to block you. So when you can't think about something, it's because your brain wants to protect you. So it's like, oh, we're not going to show you that answer. We're going to block you. And so repetition and writing it down, like answering these questions and writing it down, journaling, what is the story I'm afraid of? What are my what are my chicken exits? I don't know what to want. What do you want? That's a great question. I don't feel like it. So how many times do we set a goal and then this is a distraction. It's a way to turn us off the road and keep us in a loop somewhere, keep us off on the sidelines, on a back road. Okay? And it feels like something's happening because I'm moving, but really it's just a chicken exit. And then further down the road, I'm like, well, why can't I get my goal? I'm moving, I'm doing something, but it's like I'm stuck in a loop. All right? So we're trying to uncover what the roadblock is to getting into the subconscious mind so that we are able to make progress and move forward. So there's a lot of beliefs in there that have been programmed since you were little that we need to uncover and heal from. And sometimes we'll just not do anything. We'll procrastinate. There'll be no action. Perfectionism is another way that we go off the path, because if it's not going to be perfect, then I don't want to do it. And I'm not ready, right? Because it's like, this is another form of resistance showing up, because it's like, I want to get ready, and I'm always getting ready, and I'm never ready. And that is a way the brain is protecting you, okay? Opposition is evidence that I shouldn't be doing this. So sometimes we'll even use God. Oh, it isn't working out, so God doesn't want me to do this. I don't believe that. I think there is so many things that are opposing us. And first, whenever you set a goal, it should be a goal that is for you, right? It's a goal that you've already prayed about. It's a goal you've already consulted people about. You've written about it. You've visualized about it. You feel really good about it, right? So that's the first step. Whenever we have a goal or whenever we're trying to change, we've already mapped it out that this is going to be an upgrade, right? So when we start heading down another road and our mind is just freaking out, it will use anything. It will lie, cheat, and steal to us to get us to go back to the way we were. And so it can trick us. And that's what it does. It'll trick us and say, well, God must not want me to do this because it's not working out. So it's so interesting, because these are the things that we want to address and be aware of. So I wanted to share some things from my clients that they've been talking about this default, right? When we're on this default path. So in the past, my default was definitely outside validation. So I would want to do something so that someone would give me compliments, right? Or praise. The last 5 years, it mostly comes from inside me by choice. Sometimes it's a fight with negative self-talk. Here's another one. I keep feeling I crave validation from others. Is it possible that I've convinced myself people want a certain thing from me, so I hide the self-assurance? I have hidden my self-assurance so much so others who didn't like it when I was young could be comfortable. So when we think of being a victim or creator, when we're choosing our goal, we want to create. We've already done that, right? So what we're doing is we're finding how we can use our mind to get towards our goal and be ready, right? So getting out of the default mode. I'm going to tell you right now, when you get out of the default mode, it is not going to feel comfortable. You are going to have feelings. When you are going in another direction, we have got to embrace how that feels. So I'm going to tell you, even when it's a good change, even when you have achievements and a success and accomplish, your mind doesn't like it, and there will be resistance, and it won't feel like you thought it was going to feel. Okay? So I want to just use a quick example of how when I first got married, I had all these ideas about what it was going to feel like to be married, right? And here I found somebody that I love and I feel loved, and it's a healthy relationship, and I feel prepared for it. And yet, after we got married and we moved in together, there was a lot of opposition. You know, it was definitely an upgrade. It was definitely an up level. It was definitely something I knew God wanted for us, and yet it felt hard, you know? And I don't know about you, but when things start to feel hard, it makes me want to go back to easy, even though going back to my old ways wasn't necessarily easy. You know, when I got married, I thought, oh, this is hard. But you know how many nights I cried and wanted to be married so bad? And then I'm married, and then I'm like, oh, this is hard. And it's like, do you want to, and there was a part of me that's like wants to go back to how it used to be, and then it's like my mind is only showing me the things that were easy when I was single, right? And there was so much hard when I was single too. So your mind plays those tricks, and so we'll have doubt, we will fear will creep in. We won't want to do anything about it. We'll be unmotivated. We won't want to do any action. We'll want to run away. We won't feel like doing something about it. So this is why we get to notice. And so this next week, I'm going to have you tracking the resistance that shows up for you, the thoughts that come up that are opposing you. So when I think of something, when I have a feeling or a thought that comes up and it's pushing me back from where my goal is, I'll think of, instead of thinking, oh, this always happens to me, I'll think of, what am I doing right now that's worth opposing? Because when things are happening in my life that don't feel right, or they feel like a roadblock, or they feel like a challenge or a struggle, it means there's something in my subconscious that is putting a signal out that I'm worth opposing. So resistance, the law of opposition, has to show up. It is the law of the universe. So it will show up, and it will put some pressure. It'll put some resistance against where you're going. So the exciting thing is when you can ask the question, what am I doing right now that is worth opposing? Write that question down, and this is a great journaling question. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling opposition, when you're feeling a struggle, when you're feeling a challenge, what am I moving towards that is worth opposing? Talk about it. Don't hide it. Don't suppress it. Don't push it down. Welcome it, because it is telling you you're on the right path. That's what it's telling you. And we get to talk to each other. We get to talk to our brains. Just because something comes up and it feels like it's pushing me down or back, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And I'll tell you, I think of even an achievement, like I won a honorable mention in this international book contest. And I am still struggling to receive that award. I'm still struggling to feel excited and happy and satisfied. Isn't that interesting? Like it's like, here's this great thing, and I can see all the miracles surrounding it. I want to embrace it. I want to be grateful. And yet there's this part of me that's like, you didn't really do that great of a job on that book. It doesn't deserve an award. It's not your best work. I mean, all this crap starts coming into my mind, all these lies. And it's because of fear, and it's easier to take a chicken exit. It's easier to give into the resistance. It's easier to just go back to the way I used to feel about myself than to move forward because it doesn't feel right. So I noticed as I was really asking myself the question, what is it that I'm afraid of in this moment? Like, what's the story I'm afraid of? And you know what came up? I'm afraid people are going to think I'm conceited, arrogant, bragging, better than them. They'll be jealous of me. They'll think I'm an overachiever. I started coming up. That's why I didn't want to share with anyone my win. I was worried about what other people would think. And I was concerned for them and their feelings over mine. And I was worried about being judged. So it's not just sharing with people, but I literally was dismissing my own feeling of gratitude. I was dismissing my own feeling of achievement and satisfaction and significance. Isn't that interesting? So just by asking a question, we get to uncover where the next step is. Because that helped me see, okay, now I can see you, fear. Now you're written on paper, fear. And then I get to heal that fear. And it's like, who told you? So the next question for me was like, who told you you were arrogant if you share a win? Or who told you that? And I couldn't even think of who told me that. It's like, was it an outside force? Was it an inside force? And really, it doesn't matter. As long as I can be aware of it and recognize it and give myself permission to feel my emotions. You are going to feel something. These emotions are going to be stirred up when you get out of a default mode. Guess what? If you stay in default mode, you are still going to have emotions. And part of this program is all about uncovering these emotions because they come from thoughts. And we've been programmed and conditioned to believe a certain way. And we are breaking free. That's what this is about. This is breaking free of an old pattern so that you can have a new experience in life. And so I invite you to set aside what you think you know about your goal. I want you to set aside what you think you know about your next steps so you can open your mind to get the answers that are needed to break through that wall. To have the courage to feel and recognize and be aware of that's life. Life gives us the opportunities to feel. That's how we know we're alive. And I've just noticed, for me right now, I'm noticing in my life that I've been numb to feelings, or I've dismissed my feelings because I feel like if I don't feel, then I won't be disappointed or let down, or it's too intense to feel. But if I'm always numbing the way I feel and I dismiss how I feel, how am I really going to feel and enjoy my life? I have to give myself permission to feel the fear. I have to create a safe place to have my feelings. I have to recognize that feelings are signals, and they're meant to be embraced and felt. That's life. We get to feel. So when I'm trying to get out of the default mode and I'm doing something different, my mind will tell me it's wrong. This doesn't feel right. And I'm here to reveal the truth that when you get out of default mode and you're on another path, it's going to feel different because you've never been there. So this week, when you're recognizing and you're being open to the awareness, you're going to set aside what you think you know so you can have an awareness and be on the lookout for what different feels like. And then when you spot it, you're going to say, this is what different feels like. This is what different feels like. So when I'm having this feeling that it's scary to win an award because there's these expectations with this, and what if I'm putting the pressure on myself to do it again, and what if I disappoint somebody, and what if they take it away? What if they find out I'm not a good author? What if, right? So we get to embrace how I feel and keep going. Our brain naturally wants to categorize it as this is good, this is bad. When I'm afraid, it's easy to shame ourselves and get mad at ourselves. But what we're doing this week is we are writing down and tracking our awareness of what different feels like. And then using that mantra, this is what different feels like. This is what different feels like. So when our brain wants to categorize it into good or bad, we're going to build another neural pathway by using this mantra. And a mantra to me means repetition. I'm going to repeat this phrase over and over and over. When my brain says, this is bad, I'm going to say, this is what different feels like. I must be doing something worth opposing. What am I headed towards that is worth opposing? What do I stand for that is worth opposing? This is going to be a game changer in getting the mindset and the emotion set and the action set to get to your goal. I cannot wait to hear your results. Make sure you're tracking this week. Send me an email. Let me know what that looks like. See you again.